Where's the countdown?
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I feel like I have an echo this morning. There, it's gone. It's gone. Thank goodness. Welcome to Sacred Space Sunday, January 9th, 2022. 2022. Hard to believe.
Yep.
Hard to believe. We are here. We are here. Well, hopefully everyone is up and ready for the new year and ready for Little King is over here bugging me. He doesn't care that I'm on camera right now and on screen, wanting his attention here underneath the table. Hopefully everyone is healthy. I know that this season has definitely been a season where COVID has really come in and taken over. And, every community I go to, every person I talk to has been either specifically touched by COVID in the last couple of weeks or somebody in their household or that they're close to has been touched by COVID. We had a little bit of COVID in our house, didn't we, Mark?
Yeah, according to the rapid test.
According to the rapid test. So that's the key phrase here, right? According to the rapid test, which are hard to come by. Hard to come by. It is a true scarcity in effect on cold medicines, rapid tests. So it is an interesting time. So, anyways, folks, good morning. Welcome to Sacred Space Sunday. Let us know you're here. We need to feel your energy. Shout it out in the chat. Say hello. Tell us how you doing. What's the good 2022 word? We need some info and some feedback from our folks online, and I'm sure others will be coming in. So while we do that, my name's Nee-yah Jewel, Minister Jewel. I am the founder and spiritual director of the Niyah Center, and this is Sacred Space Sunday, our program, which is our interfaith engagement, social justice, personal empowerment day of coming together in community to learn and grow and discuss all things it's spiritual in nature, which for me are all things.
Got the chaplain checking in.
Okay, A Love Supreme, what's going on in 2022? Yes, we got a chaplain in the house.
Hey, Trevor.
Hey, Team Money in the house. Happy 2022. And we've got Mark Christmas over here, our director of holistic wellness. What's the holistic wellness word for 2022?
Trusting. Peace and trust.
Peace and trust. Peace and trust. Peace and trust will go a long way to some holistic health. Good morning, Jillian. Great to see you. Great to see you in the chat. Auntie, good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, Auntie.
Yes. Well, thank you. We love and miss you all as we are, remaining for the most part quarantined in the house. I'm guessing many of you all are as well, as we move through this crazy January phase here. So got a lot that I want to talk about today, but first, if there's any January birthdays, happy birthday, first of all. And then, put it in the chat, or if you've got people in your family, friends, loved ones that you want to shout out. Angela Adams has a birthday coming up on January 15th. So shout out to my girl, Angela. We've got a big MLK birthday being recognized coming up soon, and we're going to spend some time talking about that a little bit later. But, Any other January birthdays, put them in the chat. And as always, we are a community. And so in between these Sacred Space Sundays, which meet every other Sunday, you can find us in Facebook. We have a wonderful Allverse group, which is a great way to stay in community, to stay uplifted, to share what's going on in your world. It is a space and community for all things positive. So if you haven't already, joined the Allverse community on Facebook, and you can find all of our broadcasts, broadcasts on YouTube. So join our YouTube channel, follow our YouTube channel, because you can find every broadcast that we have done for Sacred Space Sunday. So you can watch it later, rewatch it, or share it with a friend. So check out our YouTube channel. And of course, you can find us and follow us on any other mode of social media. So we appreciate that. And you can get in contact with us for any support, any questions, through our email account, NiyahCenter@gmail.com. So that's the way to contact us directly. Any feedback, any thoughts, any questions, this is how you can contact us. And lastly, if you're following us today on Twitch, click the follow button if you haven't. Subscribe is a way that you can share a love donation with us. If you're enjoying the broadcast, if there's something that we say, you can cheer using bits. So there's ways that you can financially support Niyah Center and our continued growth and development on Twitch by using some of their fun buttons, either to cheer or to subscribe. And also love donations. We say here that it is our spiritual belief that you give where you are spiritually held and uplifted. You give in all those places that you are spiritually held and uplifted. And so if Sacred Space Sunday, holds and uplifts you today, we would appreciate your love donations. And so you can reach us in one of our various, either through Zelle or Cash App. So thank you in advance for those love donations. And the last piece of business is, like I said, we meet every other Sunday. So our next Sacred Space Sunday is January 23rd. So January 23rd, we will be right back here broadcasting live. So you can go ahead and put that in your calendar, and you can always get the reminder by following us on social media. We always post a reminder on social media a couple of days before the Sunday. So if you're always like, well, I can't remember, is it this Sunday, not Sunday? You can always find out by looking at our social media pages. So thank you. Anything else on your mind, Mark, before we get started?
No, I think you covered off. Got a lot to do in 2022.
Lot to do in 2022. Now that's a word right there. Put that in a banner. Lots to do in 2022. I like it. Let's keep it. Let's keep it. Lots to do in 2022. It's true. So much to do in 2022. And we are actually going to talk about that a little bit in our message today. But before we get started in our message, let's find our posture of presence. And so I want to give you all a moment to get situated. Get us some background music. So as always, if you're sitting, plant your feet. Relax your shoulders. Feel free to close your eyes or simply let your gaze be lightly down. If you're driving, stay focused on the road while you listen to my voice. And let's just take some beautiful cleansing, allowing breaths. So thankful for this moment. So thankful that for all that we will do, be, have, experience, give in 2022. Whatever 2022 brings, we are more than enough to receive it, to move through it, to thrive. As divine beings connected to the one, to the source, to the force, to God's infinite love, intelligence, creativity, compassion, mercy, whatever the forms, the circumstances may take, in peace and connection, we may find our way through. Finding joy in the breath, life in the breath, peace in the breath. May today's time together be divinely guided. May my words be the words of the one. May all that hear my voice now and in the future be supported, uplifted, and surrounded in love. And so it is. Ashe, Amen, Namaste.
Nice. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So today's topic is soul force. Soul force. And it was inspired by a speech that I'm going to be giving in a couple of days in recognition of the Martin Luther King holiday. And as I was working on this, it just really resonated for me and with me all of who Martin Luther King was, what he represented, but most importantly, what was the foundation of his philosophy? His philosophy was an interreligious philosophy. Many may not know that. And even if they are in their awareness, they wouldn't frame it that way. The foundation for his approach to justice and freedom in America came from an interreligious philosophy of an interreligious Hindu who was also committed to justice and freedom for his people, Mohandas K. Gandhi. Dr. King's mentors spent time with Gandhi because in the early 20th century, when things were really, really challenging for Black people in America, when there were lots of Black newspapers, they were aware that there was this dude Gandhi over in India causing a stir. He was leading marches of millions to oppose British imperialism and occupation of their country. Blacks in America were wowed by what they had heard. Scholars like Howard Thurman, Benjamin Mays went to India, met with Gandhi. Tell us, how are you doing this? And there's no guns. You're not shooting. You're not fighting. You're marching. And change is happening. We need to know, how are you doing this? We need some of that here. And if you look back at the Black newspapers of the time, there were calls, we need a Gandhi here. Who will be our Gandhi? And while there were many who were standing in the struggle, there wasn't that one charismatic person that was standing as the American Gandhi. Martin Luther King never met Gandhi. He had been assassinated. But his legacy formed and informed his philosophy, his worldview, his religion. Because Dr. King's mentors, Mays, Howard Thurman, if you will read, they say that he always had Howard Thurman's book on hand. Howard Thurman's book, Jesus and the Disinherited, takes from the philosophy of Gandhi and includes it in a Christian social gospel, in interreligious work. The work we do here at Niyah Center is not new. It is not unique. It continues the legacy of the freedom fighters, the justice seekers, the truth believers who practice soul force. A little bit more about soul force. So in Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, which was given August 28th, 1963 in the famous March on Washington, what he has to say about the circumstances and the violence that was so well publicized at that point in terms of the backlash that those protesting injustice through marches and sit-ins and the violence that they were experiencing. Dr. King had this to say in response on that day in 1963. But there is something that I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. We must ever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protest to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force. Meeting physical force with soul force. Conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. Dr. King is specifically referring to Gandhi's socio-ethical life philosophy and method called satyagraha. Satya is understood as truth, and agraha conveys firmness and force. So satyagraha, it can be translated as truth force, or as Gandhi called it, soul force. One of the Black scholars, William Stewart Nelson, who went and spent time with Gandhi, professor at Howard, who came back and taught this philosophy to the justice seekers here, had this to say about Gandhi's principles. Gandhi's experiments with nonviolence in the presence of these problems are a unique method and revolutionary. The name he sought for his struggle was satyagraha, which literally means firmness and truth, but can be translated into truth force and soul force. What in Gandhi's name and view was truth? What is truth? Gandhi says, truth, it's a difficult question. But ultimately, it is what the voice with a capital V within you tells you. What a pure heart feels at a particular time is true. See, Gandhi also studied multiple traditions. Although he grew up in a Hindu tradition, he was surrounded by Muslims, by Jains, by Buddhists, and he studied the Bible, as well as other thought leaders and philosophical leaders. And ultimately, it was Gandhi's belief that self-discipline was where all freedom and justice began. It begins with us, our own character, as Dr. King talks about. A character of discipline, of doing what's right, of saying what's right, of not giving in to the circumstances of the world where material things are more important than love, where individuality is more important than community. Gandhi created communities to reinforce self-discipline because he believed that if you had the self-discipline and that your religion was justice and truth and love, then you had the type of character that would be required to walk into the lion's den and practice satyagraha as a movement. How do you walk into a situation of violence with a commitment to nonviolence? It has to be more than a choice in the moment. It is based on a deep felt worldview. That is what Gandhi taught. That is what he practiced. That's what many of our leaders traveled thousands of miles to learn, brought back to this country, shared it with their mentees, and ultimately it was brought to fore through Dr. King as the face of a movement. We saw the power of Soul Force in the summer of 2020. In reaction to the brutal police killings that culminated in the very public lynching of George Floyd. Hundreds, then thousands took to the street here in the US, and then it spread across the world. Soul Force, nonviolent resistance, non-cooperation. Powerful. Powerful in the 60s, powerful now. Dr. King, in his message on the I Have a Dream speech, also emphasized the fierce urgency of now. Soul Force is not something we can just pick up and put down. As the marches and movements are put down, injustice, evil, inequality, oppression thrive and rise. Soul Force is a way of life, not a reaction. It's a religion. This is what Gandhi called it, his religion. He says, I believe that nonviolence is infinitely superior to violence. Forgiveness is more manly than punishment. Strength does not come from physical capacity, it comes from indomitable will. Our strength comes from our will to stand by our values, our morals, our ethics, and speak truth, not quietly, but explicitly. Satyagraha is non-violent direct action. There is action, and it is direct. It's just not violent because violence creates more violence. Indomitable will, a refusal to accept anything but your divine right to full human dignity and value. These are the sentiments, the reminders that will support us as we do all we need to do in 2022. I want to read from one other part of a sermon that Dr. King gave on Palm Sunday in 1959. And God grant that we shall choose the highway, even if it will mean assassination, even if it will mean crucifixion. For by going this way, we will discover that death would be only the beginning of our influence. Dr. King believed he would be assassinated. He thought he would die for this cause, and he was willing to do so. I'm not asking you to die for a cause. I'm asking you to live for your cause. Your cause of love for self and community, to live into it, the fierce urgency of now, of recognizing and realizing your value and worth and contribution as a divine manifestation of the one, and live 2022 in this fierce urgency of now stepping into your gifts and your talents and sharing them with the community boldly with your full soul force. Practicing the self discipline that is required for you to be your highest self. For as we all step into being our highest selves, we do create, we become, we create that beloved community. And through our indomitable will to be our best selves, we can, we do, we will transform society. Society is made up of individuals. We all get to do our part. This is my call. This is my prayer. Thank you. And I think Mark has an affirmation for us that is consistent with our talk today. Mark?
Yeah, let me I'll read it. I ask if you will repeat it after me. We'll say it a couple of times. So today's affirmation is I embrace the new year, open to divine wisdom, guidance, and infinite possibility. I choose soul force. Listen to and follow the voice within me. Say it one more time. I embrace the new year, open to divine wisdom, guidance, and infinite possibility. I choose soul force. Listen to and follow the voice within me. The affirmation asks that you take a screenshot of that or write it down and that you repeat it throughout the week.
Great, 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 great. Thank you. Thank you. We'll move that and turn it into a ticker so people can see it for a few more minutes. Thought I did.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, and so what is our application of this commitment to soul force? Soul force embodies truth telling. Soul force and truth and self discipline. These are the major tenets of the philosophies of these great leaders. Now, I want to be clear that as we talk about Dr. King and we talk about Mohandas Gandhi, these were not perfect individuals. They were very much flawed individuals. And certainly as you get to know their history, their flaws are concrete and real. And so I don't remove, diminish, or dismiss any of the things that made them very much flawed individuals. But we all are flawed individuals. So it doesn't excuse the things that we do that impact other people in ways that hurt them. At the same time, the tension of being someone who creates transformation in the world can coexist in someone who's also a flawed individual and misses the mark in very clear and important areas. Dr. King missed the mark in the area of gender in many ways. Mohandas Gandhi missed the mark with regard to the least of those in his country in many ways, the Dalit community. So these were imperfect individuals, but the philosophy that was the foundation that motivated them holds up, is real, is true. And so we can hold both of those in the same space. So I hope that that too carries you in 2022. Not looking for you to be perfect. None of us are. Our flaws are real and they will rear their heads, and sometimes we will hurt others. And to the extent that we can recognize it, receive it, stand up, and look to move on, we are better for it. And the good that we do matters and is real and should not be diminished or forgotten. So the application for this week is to commit to truth telling. Your own form of soul force, truth telling, saying and doing only what is both honest and helpful. This is also right speech in Buddhism and right action. So again, we've talked about this before, but I keep coming back to this because this fundamental approach to life is transformative. Asking yourself before you say and before you do, is this honest and helpful? Honest and helpful. If it's honest and helpful, you must. That doesn't mean is it easy? It's not up there. Is it comfortable? That's not up there. Right? Soul force. This is coming from a deeper place. Is it honest and is it helpful? Commit to truth telling. So that's in our interactions, in our workplaces, in our schools, and in our own minds. Can we start there? The conversations that we have for ourselves as we embrace the affirmation of actively listening to the voice within, the real voice with the capital V, not the little one that beats us up all the time. The voice with the little v can be really mean and really nasty and look to hold you back. No, we're talking about that deeper voice, the voice of God, the voice with the big V, that when you get still and when you get silent, when you're praying and meditating, that voice with the big V, it is always seeking honesty and help. Thoughts, questions, comments?
Why did you say Mahatmas?
Mohandas, that's his first name.
But they say Mahatma mostly when you see it.
So great. Glad that you brought that up. So Mahatma is a title, like Christ. Christ is a title, not a name, right? So some people think Christ is Jesus' last name. But Christ is a title, and Mahatma is a title that was given to Gandhi by a poet in India named Tagore. And I will tell you just a second what it translates to. So yes, they call him the Mahatma, but his name is Mohandas K. Gandhi.
Mm. Mahatma is like a is it a religious title?
So I don't want to misquote it now. It's kind of like enlightened one, like Christ, right? So basically looking to elevate him as, a speaker of truth and a leader.
Mm.
Kind of not unlike reverend or minister.
Mm. Okay.
Titles that you give to people who are, operating in an elevated spiritual capacity. So not the only Mahatma.
Right. You said during your there's A Love Supreme, the chaplain put it in there.
Thank you, A Love Supreme.
Maha means great.
Great soul.
So
That's
great.
right.
Okay. Thank you, A Love Supreme. That chaplain is in effect.
Yeah, them theologians be on it.
So you had mentioned earlier that that they both died for their causes, and that you're not asking people to die for a cause, but to live for a cause. So what does that look like in 2022?
Well, that's going to be specific to the individual. For me, what that looks
Yeah.
like is continuing to do the work that I do with the African American Policy Forum, which is very active in the conversation against, those who are seeking to sustain white supremacy ideology in the form of laws that have been um, promulgated across this country that look to censor history and criminalize teaching truth in the classroom and defund diversity, equity, and inclusion training and initiatives. So to continue to not only speak and educate about, what that false anti-CRT narrative is actually about, and bring awareness to what's going on, that before our eyes there are laws in at least 11 states that criminalize teaching truth, and you can't mention slavery in some classrooms. I mean, this is ridiculous, right? That this is happening, and that it's part of this whole anti voter suppression, part of laws that criminalize protesting, all of these things that are happening today to literally keep our society not only divided, but freedom, equity, abundance, limited to a very few, right? That don't want everyone to have the ability to prosper. So to continue to actively do whatever I can um, to keep that from continuing. So that part of that's part of what it looks like for me. And also to follow my own inner voice with a capital V, which is to continue my own writing and sharing and using the talents that I have been given to communicate in the public sphere those things that come to my heart to say, which I believe is the voice of God coming through me that has something to communicate and that I get to be a vehicle for. And so to continue to be that vehicle, even when it's uncomfortable. I think Mark froze. What an interesting pose. Very thoughtful, very engaged. So if you're going to freeze on screen, that's the way to do it. You there, Mark? Oh, he's logged out. He's got to log back in. So for you all, what does it look like to be a soul force in 2022? I'm curious what you're thinking. What does it mean to live into your divine guidance this year in 2022? What's on your mind? What's on your heart? This is different from resolutions. Resolutions seem so casual. This is deeper than that. What are we committing to be and to do as that voice inside has been propelling us? What is it that we haven't been doing for years that the voice inside has been calling us to do? And is this our year? We can't wait for the pandemic to be over. There's no over, right? We do get that now, right? There's no over. This is just a new world and a new way of being that will continue um, to evolve and develop. And so we've got to move within it and not wait to move after it. So what are you all thinking? What are you feeling? Mark, are you back? Almost.
Yeah, I don't know. The power died.
Yeah. Oh, in the computer.
Yeah.
I was saying you froze with a face that was very, very just, what do I think? So it was like the perfect frozen face, which is good because sometimes it could freeze with, you in the middle talking, your mouth wide open, it could look a lot of ways.
Right. As we've seen it, right. So I think that's interesting to live for a cause and what can I do to support that? How do I live in support of that? How do I be a great soul?
Yeah, I think it's not distant from living into your purpose. I think that they live in the same space.
Yeah. So those I heard you saying something around declarations and not making a declaration, but a goal.
Well, no, I was just saying, there's the whole thing at the beginning of the year about resolutions, right? And I think, that phrase kind of has a bad rap. And so not asking people to make resolutions, right? Things on the list that you never get to. I'm gonna go to the gym 5 days a week, right? And I've been saying that for the last 25 years and it hasn't happened yet. So like not to engage in that, right? A greater depth of speaking from the big V voice within that actually has never called that forth in me. I can't actually say that I feel like God within said, go to the gym 5 days a week for it, and you must work out for at least 30 minutes. I'm not dismissing that this is an important, it would be a good thing in life, maybe, but I can't honestly say that that is my divine call, right?
Got it. Got it. Lord.
So I want to distinguish what we're talking about here as something that's got some greater depth than making some resolutions.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
What comes to your heart in terms of, what in 2022 represents your soul force?
I guess living and voicing my best life. So what does that look like? That's practicing and discipline, daily spiritual practice that uplifts myself. It helps me be a beam, a light, shine a light to the world. Working, um, passionately, giving my all in my service, um, generating income that sustains a lifestyle that's important to me. Those are some of the things that come to my mind.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Anybody in the chat, anything that's coming to mind for you in this lots to do 2022? Now we started 2020 with that 2020 vision, and we got a vision of a world we weren't expecting in terms of the pandemic. So, the lots to do in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Yeah, yeah.
But really that's always been the case, right? Who knows?
Right.
We don't know. We don't know what tomorrow brings. We don't know
being
what
present.
Being present.
Yeah, really being present in the moment with in my relationships as a son, as a husband, as a sibling, as a father, as a friend. Being present and attentive to those that love and care, that are part of my life, that I intersect with, even my students.
I think that's beautiful. I think that's beautiful. I think that's a call for all of us being present. That's that fierce urgency of now, right? I love that that Dr. King calls for, the fierce urgency of now. And so, by the way, if you haven't read some of Dr. King's speeches, they're a worthy read. They're a worthy read. It's one thing to be aware that he had some beautiful and impactful things to say. It's another to actually sit down and read them for yourselves, and have your own takeaways from them. And all of these writings. It was interesting to me to learn that the "I Have a Dream" speech, he literally wrote that moments before going on stage. He was so rushed and had so much going on. It wasn't like this was something he had prepared weeks in advance. Now, there were bits and pieces that he had used in previous speaking engagements. They say Mahalia Jackson, at one point she sensed spiritually that he might have like hit a block and like, where am I going and where am I taking this speech? And she shouted, tell him about the dream, Martin, tell him about the dream. And as a loving friend who has your support and is also a channel, she was able to support him, and that's when he shifted the speech and launched into all of the things that he had a dream for. And no coincidence, those are the parts that are the most memorable by most from his speech. So it takes a village, even that wonderful speech. And it was encouraging to me because I don't always get to prepare for these talks as far in advance as I would like to, but God is always there, and so shows up. And when you're willing to be a channel, some of that preparation is control of ego.
Yeah, well, we had a user that said that's why they're choosing to live each day like it's their last day.
Yes.
User, thank you. And then A Love Supreme says CPE has been pushing me into taking the risk of speaking the truth in the room at any given moment.
Woo. Yeah. Yes, I can see that as a chaplain. Is it honest and is it helpful? And, you know, helpful could be something that has a lot of different subjectivity to it in the moment, and particularly in the context of being a chaplain, of what is and is not helpful in that moment. And so that's when you really get to trust that big V voice inside on what's helpful, and if it's coming to you, even though it's uncomfortable. So, I continue to say I love Supreme. Kudos for being in that chaplain role, because that is a space that is not easy to hold. So thank you and bless you for doing it. Okay, we got another one here. Grace family, forgive, give flowers. Yeah, while you're here to enjoy. Amen to that. Don't wait, do it now. That's that fierce urgency of now. Certainly in our family, we got clear on, taking something that we say to the reality of we don't know what today brings. Write that note, give that hug, tell them I love you. Yeah, here we've done it before. I just called to say I love you. So real, so powerful. So absolutely follow God's direction. Yes, absolutely. Keep it to that big V. Can't go wrong.
Yeah. Commit to truth telling, saying and doing only what is honest. Niyah leak.
Just had that conversation. Everyone is significant to me. Believe I know it and how much. Yes. Yes. That is what it's all about. I literally just called to say I love you. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Stevie. Always on time.
Love you, sis.
Yes, I love you, sis. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. All right, Mark. You got a closing prayer for us?
Sure. As we prepare to send blessings of oneness, love, and joy to all those that are listening, whether live, yes, love you too, babe, live or on a recording. We know that in our commitment to truth and being honest and helpful, that Lord, that we just say thank you. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your power. Thank you for allowing Naomi to speak to us, you speaking through her to us, to our hearts, to us, touching our souls. The soul is the truth of the voice that's within us, Lord. As we look to be more in 2022, Lord, I ask that you just help and guide. Lord, the truth of us as divine beings, divine light shining bright, Lord, to be honest and to be helpful, guidance on what that honesty and helpfulness looks like, and in a way that is also godly. Lord, we ask that you, Lord, give us the courage to speak the truth, to be bold in the lion's den, to be able to live as a soul force, as Naomi talked about, a truth force, a source of truth. Be able to meet the situation with truth and not a reaction to what's happening. Lord, we thank you for the truth of us being just divine creatures, divine creations, divine creatures, here for a purpose. Lord, we ask you just to guide as we go through this week, guide us in our daily walk, as we interact with those loved ones, strangers, those that are familiar to us in the workspace or in the school space, wherever that space looks like. Ask that you, Lord, just guide us and ask us to continue to to be with us and allow us to allow you to live through us and to shine through us. knowing that the truth is that we are healthy, we're whole, we are complete, and we have everything we need. In your name we pray, amen. Thank you for it. Amen. Ashe. So it is.
Amen. Ashe. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, Latanya.
Good morning, Latanya. I just thought about something as you were saying your prayer and talking about us as divine creatures and creation. And I was thoughtful. Mark and I were walking the dogs the other day. In the evening, there's a path that goes along our house, and behind our house is also a maintained forest. We've talked about it here before. And as we're walking, there's lots of dogs in our building. I heard a little noise, and it didn't sound like a dog. And like I said, it was late and dark, and we were next to a forest preserve. So the sound sounded odd, but I wasn't afraid, but I did notice it. And the next thing, two foxes ran past us as fast could be. And the thing was, this was two human adults, two little barky dogs, and none of us saw them coming. It's like they came and they went, and we were all kind of like in shock. And there wasn't a reaction until like after the fact. The dogs started barking, but by the time they even realized what happened and started barking, the foxes were long gone. We were like, oh my goodness. So, in addition to just being funny and stirring, to me, what that spoke to was that there was something about our state of being in the moment, the four of us, that had those foxes think that it was safe enough not only to continue their path, but that we were not a threat and they were not inclined to threaten, but that they wanted to pass and that they could just, move on along and finish their little game of play. And that, and they did try to alert and let us know because there was a sound. We just didn't understand it to kind of be like, move to the left, right? And they move left. They tried to give the bicycle flag, but we didn't recognize it. So they just went around us. So there was something in our state of being that communicated love and safety. And so that brings me joy. At least that's my interpretation.
Yeah, little brown foxes with black tails.
Exactly. I mean, they were moving out, chasing each other. So now I think we're a little bit more alert for the foxes as we walk.
Yeah.
I've seen them before, but never moving at the same time. We were
never that close.
Never that close. Never that close.
Yeah.
So, anyways, family, that's it for today. We love you. We thank you. We appreciate you. We send you into your week with oneness, love, and joy, and all the blessings from our heart as you move with your soul force and take so much joy in that. We love you and we thank you. And let's do this. All that we get to be in 2022. Lots to do in 2022. All right, peeps. We see you here on the 23rd.
Okay. See you later.
Hi, Erica. Sending you love. Bye. Happy belated birthday, Erica.